Good evening, everyone, and a quick update from the interactive Wargame. Wargame content doesn't really do very well, but I do it as a passion. So if you don't like Wargame content, don't worry, I will be resuming aircraft collections shortly. However, I try to have varied interests because while some people don't like Wargame content, other people do. And I do this for fun. And one of my colleagues has pointed out that this is probably the most contested 10 square feet in the entire world at the minute. Here we have the airborne forces, which are going to be grouped around a reinforced company element with a Pathfinder platoon, and they are going to be carrying out some intel-driven missions to take out the Marmation Super Deadly Commandos. Now, I don't want the Malagasy state becoming a police state. I think that would be wrong, undemocratic, and not in accordance with my own ethical values. So that poses a question, well, how do you restore law and order to a revolting province that's had the Marmite and that's been infiltrated by deadly, super deadly Marmation commandos that are forcing people to take the Marmite and or using violence to get rid of them. Now, again, I have to be careful because I don't want this to become a Israel versus Hamas situation or a Northern Irish situation, the Troubles. So this is non-political. So what I've got here is some specialist law officers. These are made up of a mixtures of figures from my spare box, some German figures, I think they're from Caesar, some Ravel US infantry, some Butler's printed models, Saracens with Australian turrets. Big shout out to John and others. Big shout out for Bad Lieutenant. Obviously, I agree. We don't want this to become a police state. Big shout out to Ian and everyone else, Jeremiah and Jaws. Anyone I've missed, I apologise. So the Malagasy specialist law officers here, they're fairly well equipped. They've got these old Saracens, they've had to go and dig them up. They've got the Vigilant missile launchers. Being retired in the early 80s, no one really knows whether they'll work, but I expect they will because they're made by Vickers. And the Saracens themselves provide a decent level of protection. They're not an anti-IED truck, but at the minute there hasn't been any IEDs placed. But the Saracens are pretty good because they have good mine protection. The Saracen was intended with Cold War stuff in mind, so it does actually have quite a good anti-mine protection, and effectively a mine is a small IED. They're not EFP proof. EFP is an explosively formed penetrator. You can go and look that up, but an EFP will cut through pretty much all of this stuff as well. EFPs, if you're not aware of what an EFP is, have a look on the interweb. They were a development of IEDs to take them to the next level. So this is a group. There'll be 3 of these groups, as there'll be 3 airborne reinforced companies. They are going to deploy the M777 now. The drones have found that there is sort of heavy machine guns and Strellas and stuff like that. So the 3 of these, now the law officers will be using their law powers to restore law and order, and they'll be carrying out the vehicle-launched vehicle checkpoints, and they'll be using their law officers with the airborne to do the helicopter checkpoints. So not a huge unit, but it is quite well equipped, and it does come with the Saracen ambulance there. These are all Butler's printed models. I asked Butler's to do the specialist turrets for me, and they did. Peter at Butler's tailors the request. These are the PLA models, not the resin ones, but they're not bad for what they are. I think they're the later ones with the different intake grill. And like I said, we've got the law officers there. who will be using those. Now let's have a look at the company resources, and then we'll quickly cover the rules of engagement. So we've got some specialist officers specialist soldiers, because this is an area which is bisected by rivers, at least two. The anti-tank unit's just there for fire support. We've got the Vikings to give them protected mobility, foxhounds for protected mobility, some engineering assets, Rayfon Coyotes, M777s. All of this lot pretty much can be underslung by helicopter, except for the landing craft there, that's too heavy. Then the sections are now up to full strength with 8 soldiers per section. Widespread use of small drones, big drones for situational awareness. The mortar troop is got 381 barrels, 5 stingers. The stingers are there for drones, to take out drones, 2 50 cals, a GPMG in the SF roll, and 2 snipers. Then they've got a soon to be expanded public order, sort of riot section there. They're going to have 2 more vehicles. Like I said, this landing craft is too heavy to be helicopter transported. The pontoon bridges, they're 3 sections, they are helicopter transportable. There are waterways to cross, and this will also be used to deliver food inland. And last but not least, we've got the Pathfinder platoon. They're up to full strength. So let's cover quickly rules of engagement. The whole idea is that the forces prioritise the life of the civilians. So whilst they are able to engage if they are in immediate danger, they can only use firearms as a last resort, and where possible they must issue a warning notice. The law officers also will be having body cams, their body cams on, and there's an expectation that at least 1 per section will be using a body cam to record the use of force to avoid it becoming a police state. Now they've got a big job, and we'll come on to how they're going to feed the population stuff. But really, the whole idea is that it's not going to be a heavy-handed repression. They'll be doing intel-based work and raids with the military forces, supporting the law officers. But the idea is that once law and order is restored, it's handed over to the law officers. Now, there will be some fast raids coming up, and there will be a long slow burn. So this will be a long campaign, because if you go in too heavy-handed and you just drop bombs everywhere, you can do more damage than good. People in the province that's affected will have relatives in other Malagasy provinces, what if, and therefore you don't want to be upsetting your entire population. Meanwhile, it looks like my son is having his own Lego Ninjago battles, and the Wisteria has now got her propellers and is moving towards completion. I've added a few crew figures there and the 30mm, and I'll cover that in more detail. Take care.